nice.
I mean, I didn't. You don't want to count your chickens before they hatch, but I'll just say.
Me too, for sure. And
If you want to run it, I actually won't argue because then I can take it.
It was the good
Education. It makes it better. It gets a little easier.
the first time. All the information was being conveyed to everybody and they were.
That's a nice way to
reference.
how it works in like other.
No, she came later.
Waiting for everybody to sit down, Dan.
Yeah.
Like every time.
No, but
There's
they
so
were
much
kind of
talking,
still
so much.
That's a good thing.
Let's, it is.
Oh.
Communication, it's all about communication. So let's call this meeting to order. And so, it is 5 o'clock. So we'll call this a Park Board, Village of Oregon meeting to order. Peggy, how about roll call?
Lise.
Here, sorry.
Knudsen.
Here.
Ruadi.
Oh,
see
yes,
him.
I do see him.
You do see him?
Yep.
He's on his way in.
He's getting a
Okay.
drink, I believe.
McDaniel.
Here.
Miller.
Present?
Herniman.
Present.
Frisch.
Here.
All right, thank you.
Moving on to the approval of minutes from December 9th, 2025. So that was all in the packet. Was there any corrections, clarifications, any omissions? Can I ask for approval then?
I'll move.
Get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Jamie. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So moved. Very good. Thank you. We do have an opportunity for public appearances. It allows to be able to come to the park board and may have any ideas that whether on the agenda or not on the agenda. We do have some limitations of time that will be limited. Does anybody like to talk to the park board?
So we wouldn't talk about it at the agenda item, we want to talk about it now?
Well,
It's up to you guys. Either way, it's fine.
let's have it at the agenda item. Thank you. We'll move forward to that. So moving into the fifth item, report from the village staff. So 5A, Director of Public Reports, Public Works report.
Yeah, so I'll try to be brief on this and kind of let the memo and the text speak for itself. But to provide some context, as you guys know well, this coming year, we do have in the CIP money for design and planning for an improvement project at the Bethel Green Acre Park, kind of in that central part of Oregon on South Burr Oak Avenue. That'll be in anticipation of a 2027 construction project. And for many reasons, one of them being kind of the uniqueness and the visibility of this park, another being kind of a desire at the staff level, and I think also at the board level that's been verbalized to open up some of our design opportunities to more groups and get more feedback. Staff are recommending that we issue a formal request for proposals for planning and design through bidding services work for this project. And the hope is that by putting this out there with hopefully some detailed guidelines that describe what really matters to this board and this community, we can get kind of different visions that we can look at and kind of get some different ideas for what this park could look like, for what this process could look like. So to that end, we did prepare a draft RFP. Like I said, it does go through just through bidding services. We would do construction inspection with the project itself in 2027. But hopefully you all had a chance to read through it. We would love to get input. We did kind of put down some things that we really wanted firms to consider must-haves. That was based on the CIP work that we did last year, as well as some conversations that we've had kind of internally and with different board members. But if anything on there is something that this board isn't interested in, if there's something that this board is thinking, wow, I would really love to see that and that's not in there, we would love that feedback ahead of actually going ahead and posting this for solicitation of proposals. So with that, I'll kick it to you guys.
Park Board, what kind of comments do you have in regards to the Bethel Green? Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. I went through this. This is awesome that we're doing this. 2 questions. I saw a mention, I don't know exact line item in here right now, but if there's a stormwater area, and I've been to this park, I'm just trying to place it in my head. I should have driven past it right before this, but is that a retention pond? Is it just flood sometimes? Is that?
Today, it just floods sometimes,
Okay.
essentially. So if you've ever been out there
Right.
during a rain event, the eastern part of the park, and honestly, it's like 75 to 80% of the park
Yeah,
is just kind of a sloshy, mushy, low-lying area.
gotcha.
So what we're hoping to do is something slightly more deliberate than that and kind of work with that topography, knowing that stormwater is going to be a critical part of this just because of where it sits.
Sure. And the reason I ask that is the thing I always bring up is if we can add a barrier around any retention pond or anything like that, if it makes sense, I just always like to put a plug in for that.
Sure.
As for safety in that. And then second question, there's a public outreach and open house in the RFP.
Yes.
It struck me as odd. Wouldn't we do that? When I say we, I mean collectively as a village or maybe the park board, I'm not sure. But why would we include that in the RFP to have the contractor do it? It just seemed off to me, that's all.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So typically, we include money in these RFPs for consultants because they prepare the materials. So they would prepare kind of a presentation based on what they put together. They would prepare any handouts. It frees staff up to not have to be the one that puts all of that together. And then it makes sure that they have money in their budget to attend so that they can answer technical design questions. You're absolutely right. The village always has staff there. This is definitely something that is done hand in hand with the village. And we are kind of the sponsors of this, but this kind of just gives them money to do the real organizational and administration work.
Perfect, thanks so much, I appreciate it.
Other comments? So one of the things that we had talked about once before when we were looking at some sports fields is using that land because there's a lot of land. And at that time, we were told, no, can't be doing it because there is the water management side of it. And so we just took it for verbatim at the time that couldn't be doing anything with it. There is a lot of space there, and it leaves a lot of opportunities with that. I know one of the things that you mentioned it's used for as well is that dogs like to run it kind of off leash type of thing. I was just wondering about, is there any potential that we should incorporate anything in regards to that also in there, saying that just consider that aspect of it.
Absolutely.
So just like a dog run space or something in regards to that.
That's a really good idea.
There is a different side of the tracks, kind of, as the railroad tracks kind of split the space overall. The other thought I was wondering about is it seems like a pretty wide scope. You know, it's covering lots of different potential things. How would a contractor is going to RFP or is going to put this together? How are you going to narrow that in when you start talking about we could have paths, we could have restrooms, we know the basketball and other things. How do you kind of rein that in for them, or are they just going to be comfortable that we have to, in part of the kind of an understanding of it, do we just leave it open such that as that information comes in, we just want to get that feedback from the community and then we execute on it? Is that what the hope is?
Do you want me to take that one? Or
Sure, if you want to.
Yeah, I think the latter, where I think what Lauren listed there is, a range of possibilities, and it could be something else that's not listed that we'd like to see as park improvements, but just to give, it's essentially around the same amount of work to do, the design for whatever combination of park improvements, whether it's, X, Y, and Z or A, B, and C. I think it's just trying to explain to the respondents that we're exploring a wide range of options here. We want to see that you have experience designing parks that have some of these different elements too. But yeah, we don't really know what direction this takes until we start with that stakeholder engagement. And then, mostly want to just make sure that we are working with a qualified, experienced firm that doesn't just do one kind of park, but has experience and can help us along no matter what direction this design takes.
Thanks for, I was kind of confused actually too with the, was it 313 to develop 2 design alternatives? So they're basically picking 2 from that list?
What
and
they-
Going with like,
It's more like 2 site plans. So we would already have spoken with them multiple times about kind of what we're looking for. They would have talked to stakeholders, kind of done those focused outreach efforts. And then based on all of that, they would kind of put together, here's Plan A that has a playground and the stormwater area and a little dog run and a restroom here and a shelter here, or here's Plan B that has 2 soccer fields and no playground. This is just examples, but kind of different ways to use the space that offer different amenities.
so it makes sense to have the open house before the 2 concept plans are developed? Or how are they getting that feedback?
So it's a great question, and I don't think there is a right answer to it. The reason that it is written the way that it is to try to focus some of the broader conversations so that you're not just asking people, do you like playgrounds? Do you like swing sets? You're giving them something to respond to. The hope would be that doing all of the different stakeholder meetings ahead of time, reaching out specifically to daycares in the area, reaching out to the sports groups, getting all of their feedback initially will help to focus some of that discussion. If it's not getting us where we have to be, we can always look at, do we need to add in a second public meeting? Do we need to do kind of an amendment to this to get more feedback? Because we don't feel like we've heard as much as we wanted to hear.
Other comments? I would also like to, relative to the sustainability, is incorporate something in that, that may have to be looking at that as well. So if we put a restroom in, if we would do some kind of soccer field or some type of sports field that would end up using power, want them to keep in mind that as a village, we should be looking at anything that's sustainable in regards to that. So I think that'd be something just to make sure that they're considering as well.
Yep.
I think the document is very thorough overall. There's gives a lot of focus of what we're looking for, and I do think it's well put together. Lots of choices for them to understand in great detail about what's out there, as well as the time frame. Because looking at it is in order to do something within a time frame,
Right.
and looking for an RFP to understand the scope of it, and on
Right.
top of it, getting bids, you need time to be able to do that.
Right.
So it makes sense. So is there any action in particular that we would look at from that? Do we want to make a recommendation to the village board?
Yeah, if the board is comfortable, a recommendation to the village board to approve or to authorize putting this out there for bids,
Okay.
for proposals.
Looking for the park board to make a motion?
I'll move.
A second?
Second. Go ahead, Mac in.
Any other discussion in regards to it? Hearing none, all in favor, state by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. So moved. Wonderful. Thank you, Lauren, for that.
Thanks.
So the Director of Community Reports on 5B, the Director of Community Development Report.
All right, sorry, I just realized my computer was about to die, so just in the nick of time. All right, so this is also a little bit of a complicated one. I'll try to give an overview, and hopefully the memo explained it pretty well, but happy to, of course, answer any questions. So 235 North Main Street is the park parcel that we retained when we subdivided property and sold some land to North Point for their Main Street Townhomes project, which is now up in leasing and is partially filled. So exciting to see people living over there now. So we retained that southern parcel there. If you can scroll up to the other map, I think it kind of outlines it there. It's about 0.7 acres. And we were contacted by Dane County a couple of months ago about an opportunity to use up some remaining grant funding that they have. It's CDBG-DR, Community Development Block Grant Disaster Relief Funding. This is related to some flooding that happened in the Cross Plains area in 2018, and is money that has to be spent on kind of low and moderate income related housing and kind of capital improvements that support that housing. It has to be spent within Dane County. And actually North Point received some of that funding for their project. But there's still about $400,000 remaining in that account. The money needs to be spent by the end of September of this year, so a project actually needs to be complete. The construction needs to be complete by then. And because of this park space being adjacent to North Point's project, they understand it's a village, it's a public park, but because of that kind of, adjacency, there's a possibility of using North Point kind of as a pass-through for the funds, but having the village, drive some of the, drive the design process here, but to install some park improvements with that $400,000. And this is a grant, it's not a loan, it's not a split type thing, so not every day that you have $400,000 potentially fall into your lap that has to be used at a particular site and really for park improvements there. So we have had a few calls with North Point and the county just to discuss how would this actually work. It will involve the village attorney and some leasing, agreements and things like that if this continues to move forward. But we did present this to the village board, just this concept of potentially taking advantage of this grant. We're not committed yet. We need to let the county know though by about the 1st of March so that there's time to put all of the grant agreements in place and then of course actually do some kind of construction. So we're not talking about it's not a huge park. We're not talking about any huge project with that amount of money. Right now, this is out in our CIP a couple of years. It's 2028 for planning, similar to what we're doing for Bethel Greenacre this year. And then I believe 2029, we had some money set aside for construction of park improvements. And depending on, where this might lead, we could leave that in there. That could kind of be phase 2 of this park, or maybe that amount gets adjusted depending on what actually is done here. So just in the interest of time to make sure we keep things moving, mostly just bringing this to you as an FYI at this point. We're not committed to making any decisions yet, but did want to invite you to a neighborhood meeting. Leanne just helped me get the letters out today. So we did mail folks, I believe, within 500 feet of this parcel, as well as a couple of daycares and some other stakeholders in the area. So that's going to be Thursday, January 29th in the community room. So same space we had the neighborhood feedback session for, community room at the library. Yep. That's right. Because we're using that room for across the hall for some election training at that time. So it'll be at the library, and I think that's a nice room for kind of spreading out and doing activities. They have a nice big screen for showing maps and stuff. So we'll get some feedback from the community. Are they interested in kind of taking this on? And it's an opportunity to have some improvements in there a lot sooner than we were planning. We are limited in space. There's some large trees there. It's likely not going to be a full-size multi-use playing field or ball field or something like that, but there's a lot of other opportunities for other smaller improvements. A lot of families that live in the area, a lot of kids that use this space or are in this area for preschool or daycare as well. So we'll see what kind of a turnout and what feedback we get, but we'll have some staff from the county that can be there for questions if there's questions about this grant. But again, kind of get feedback from the community. Do we want to proceed with this? And then if so, we'll have some kind of engagement, feedback activities presented. We're not going to have concepts for them to respond to like we will with the Bethel Greenacre project at this point. But we'll have some different thoughts and boards and stickers, and Leanne and I will come up with something fun and interactive, I'm sure. So wanted to let you all know about that. That meeting is posted for potential quorum, so no need to worry if several of you attend. So board's been invited as well. But any questions about this opportunity or the park?
I just have one, the part in there about, since the funding has to go through North Point, we would lease the land from the village to them through some agreement, but then it would still be public land?
Yeah,
Can
that
you
was.
just expand on that?
Yeah, so when we originally heard from the county on this, I think it was early November, and then there was a couple weeks that went by, and during that time, they were checking with the state to see how could this actually be set up, and so what the state had suggested was that the money would be given to North Point. North Point would lease the parkland from the village. They suggested like a 15-year lease, but then they would grant us a public access easement. So in all intents and purposes, and from, you know, the public's perspective, it would function as a public park. We would still be mowing it and maintaining it and things like that, but it's really just for the money to be connected to their project. The other nice thing about them being involved is that all of the grant reporting for this would be done through North Point, so it wouldn't be an additional burden to staff. They'd have to publicly bid the project, but they would manage the contractor and manage the project. So even if it's just, I don't know, we put in a playground and they just contract directly with the playground manufacturer, they'd be doing all of that. Again, because it would essentially be, you know, their property, their park, even though we would still always retain ownership of that. But it's really just to connect the funds and have them be eligible for this park. Because the village ourselves, we do not qualify as a low to moderate income entity. So to take advantage of this, we'd have to coordinate with one of those developers that does that kind of project.
So is North Point okay with taking on this additional burden?
They are, and they've been in part of all of these calls. They've had their legal folks and their, you know, accounting folks in there too. I think they have done a similar arrangement in Madison, and so they've with kind of park space that was public land, but adjacent to their project, and so they're comfortable with it. They have a lot of experience doing the reporting, and so I think we have, you know, a level of trust we built with them that they're not gonna, you know, they're gonna follow through and do what's needed. They have a lot of experience in this realm of, you know, all these different housing requirements and grants and stuff. So, yeah, I think they're looking into it so far. They have not said that they're not willing to do this. I think there's some tax stuff they have to figure out as well. But yeah, at this point, they're interested in being a partner, and they've been made aware of this neighborhood meeting too.
Thank you.
And I think you just answered this and you asked it, but the granting of a public access easement is now and not after 15 years?
Yep, so that would be kind of how, if North Point's leasing the park from the village to be eligible for this funding, they would grant this public access easement and say, yeah, we're leasing this land, but anybody
Okay.
can use it,
Okay.
essentially.
So I was like, 15 years is a long time to wait.
No, yeah,
Public
that would just be,
access.
and then at that point, the grant funding is not like restricted to just serving low and moderate income. It's you know, the infrastructure can stay. We're not gonna rip anything out.
Matt, did you have?
I did. But where's the funding coming from? Is this a FEMA block grant?
Yep,
And will the funds flow from Dane County? Is that right?
yep, so they go through the
Oregon.
state, they're allocated to Dane County because Dane County was one of the impacted counties by that flood. So, yeah, the money, it would be Dane County, that would be kind of the reporting agency between North Point.
And they would give it to North Point, the funds?
Yes, yeah, if
Okay.
we're all consenting here.
Got it. I mean, yeah, I do hope the lawyers are looking at this because I see a ton of traps in here, but
Mhm.
I think it's creative, you know, for sure.
Yeah, figure out a way to make it work.
Other comments from the park board? Sounds good. I don't think there's any action on our part, so thank you very much, Lise. Appreciate it. Moving on to, let's see, 5B, 1, let's see, no, 2C, 5C. Recreation and Programming Coordinator Report. Thank you. Looking at the facility calendar.
Absolutely. So it was mentioned a couple months back, you know, how is it possible for the public or for anybody who would like to check whether it's facility availability or if you just want to see what's going on at JC Park that day. So this is just a short little demonstration as to how you can do that. Don't worry, I'll talk you through it. So you go to the Village of Oregon website and you go to the tab that says, How do I? There you go. And then look for find parks and facilities. Perfect. So one day this will be beautiful, but for now it's a listing of athletic areas as well as park shelters and the community room and their amenities and where they're located. And if you, let's see, what's a good example? If you want to scroll to, I believe it's on the last page, page 6, the community room. There we go. All right, so if you click on, there you go. So you click on a facility you may be interested in. There were tabs on the side where you can put in some filters like, ooh, I really need a shelter with a bathroom, or I need a playing field with, you know, parking or a basketball hoop. So, but let's say in this instance, you are looking to host a baby shower. So, you go to the community room, like, oh, I've heard that's fantastic. And then this is the only space you can do this with for now, but up at the top it says request reservation. All right, so, okay, we can skip that. You can X out of there. Sorry, Rich. All right, so if you scroll down, I'm used to seeing this from the employee point of view. So this is our guidelines for hosting as well as the fees, and as far as what's required to make the reservation. And if you keep going down, and not all of these are as lengthy, but there you go. So if you keep scrolling down, and again, there's one for all of these, you can see the availability, like, ooh, I really would like to throw a baby shower in April. What do they have open in April? So you are able to see, you know, oh, okay. For the community room, I do keep most events private unless it's a public event, like a public input. But if it's a private event, I keep that private. But athletic fields, you would see like youth softball practice or, you know, game versus, or like 12U game. So it has a bit more of a description. So that's the brief synopsis of checking the public facilities calendar. And it is pretty wonky, but we have yet to find a way to consolidate it all. So at this point, it is unfortunately facility by facility.
Okay, but there is a search.
Nope.
And so if you're going to go into one of those to reserve it,
Mhm.
do you have to have a registration?
Nope.
So you can reserve it?
Correct.
What information is necessary to reserve it? Phone number, name?
Phone number, name, email, address for residency, and then just a brief description of the event and how many you expect to attend.
So therefore, the address is the only verification for their residency.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Andy, did you have a comment?
Yeah, so you said this community room was the only one you can reserve through clicking that tab?
Correct. So
Is-
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, is the hope that like other parks or amenities will be added to that?
That is correct. So for now, it just gives you a link to contact Leanne Rhodes, and it has my number, my email address. But yes, so we've been able to request community room reservations maybe about 6 months now. So I'm still kind of streamlining that process because sometimes there's 2 calendars basically, and so lining up the 2 calendars can be a bit tricky. And I just want to make sure I'm not double booking things or, you know, stuff is seeping through under the cracks. So once I get a better system going, then we'll open up more, probably park shelters would be the next, like natural category to open up for booking.
Okay, because I was just looking, I just clicked on High Meadow Park just because I knew there was nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even see, maybe I'm missing it, but I don't see a contact Leanne for it. It just tells me that it's available the whole time. And, just, that's it. Unless I'm missing something. where
No,
it's-
that's okay. I know it's there somewhere. Like I said, I'm typically used to seeing this from the employee point of view, but let me look.
I mean, I can see this being a good tool once you have all of the amenities, in here.
Oh yeah, and it's cut back on a lot already. For example, I'm able to do all confirmations through Civic, which is huge, because before it was a Word document. I would have to copy and paste every time. But
I think it's under how do I and reserve. So under submit, reserve a park shelter that
There we
has your
go.
contact
Yes.
info on it.
You can't do it directly from viewing that park. You'd have to go somewhere else.
mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right now, but once you have
Yes.
each individual park up
Mhm.
and running, then
Correct.
people could just reserve right through the website.
Sure.
Two things. First off, it how it is now, it feels really pretty tricky to access, like
Mhm.
to find.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be thing number one. Thing number two, how do you plan to get photos for all the parks?
I was just gonna do it myself. Find a picture perfect, beautiful day and maybe crank out some of the old event planning supplies and dress them up a bit and go from there.
Other comments from the park board? Lynn?
Leanne, will you reach out to us if there's ways we can help you on that? 'Cause
Sure.
I can click a photo
Yeah, absolutely.
fairly okay.
Perfect.
And, there's a lot of background. This is not the only thing that's on your plate, and I understand that, like, sometimes these things are kind of the last on the list. So if there's any opportunity for the park board to assist,
Oh,
please
okay.
don't hesitate to reach out.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Speaking of photos, how many photos would you put? Just one photo for that? Was there multiple like you did in the community room?
I would probably do multiple. And I may even do, because I get a lot of questions as far as where are the outlets located, stuff like that. So I may even do some detailed shots of, hey, if you look in this corner over here, there's the outlet. But yeah, and then maybe have a couple, like one with picnic tables and another just a completely bare shelter.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
That gets it phased in, so you don't have to try to do them all. But like you
Yes,
said,
exactly.
We can help out. We
Well,
certainly
thank you.
can do that as well. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
I have one more.
Andy, you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm looking at the map, and I'm
Mhm.
just wondering if there's a way to enhance the map on there or a future enhancement where it actually shows the size of the park. I'm looking at I'm having a hard time trying to drive this, but Stone Ridge Park, it's on the wrong side of the road. Which one is this? Bergamot Park is missing the one on the downside of the hill at the end, just off of Prairie Grass Road. I can't remember what that
That's
one
a
is.
separate park.
Yeah, that's,
Right, but that's not on the map, so it's,
mhm.
but I'm just curious, just to give people an idea of how big the park is,
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's something I would have to ask Candy, because, yeah, this is just what
it looks like it's just mapping
Correct,
addresses and
yeah.
stuff, but,
Mhm.
Yeah, another thing, we do have like overall park maps from the park plan too, so we can make sure that that's on here just as overview of, if you just wanna see what parks are in my neighborhood or something, what are nearby, if you don't know the names of all the parks. So, yeah, there's a lot of capabilities through here, but yeah, if you remember, this is what our website, we already are paying for, so there's some limitations, but I think, there's a lot more we can build out here as it gets going and
Yeah.
you make sure the system works before you release the hounds. So.
And are you able to add tabs to the facilities?
I don't believe so.
Because even if there was like a reserve tab and then the link to submit
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, I think you should be able to link pages together, so if it was, I wanna know about reservations versus just going right to the park and facility listing,
Mhm.
should be able to link internal pages pretty easily together, so we'll work with Candy, she's kind of the website guru, to help it flow.
Yeah, because I could see where that would be really like confusing.
Great, thank you for showing that, appreciate that. Any other comments from the park board? Hearing none, continue to move on. Moving on to item 6, the Recreation Programming Coordination Report, 6, unfinished business, which we're talking about the J.C. Community Park pickleball court and the lighting cost estimate. The cost estimate was included in the packet, so that information was provided in there. Did anybody from the staff want to comment about that?
Just that, as I mentioned in the packet, we received this from Rutler. This is a direct quote from Musco. It doesn't sound like there's a lot of, overhead costs as far as further design. They're really, the bases are there. They're really just plug and play once we get the, once lights would actually arrive. There's an install cost, everything included there. You have specialized equipment to actually hoist it up and get it on there. But for kind of the purposes of where we are at this point for conversation, the $85,000 to $95,000 range, I think, is accurate. Obviously, nothing ever gets cheaper, so depending on when things would actually be purchased, that amount could go up. It's not necessarily guaranteed for forever. I think it's a 30-day window that they guarantee that price, and this is a cost from June, but he did confirm with Musco that that price hasn't changed. It's still within that range since that June estimate. So just for informational purposes, where we kind of left it, I think, was just getting the information and then determining, if there are folks in the community that are interested in kind of moving this forward, or if we want to take a look when we do our CIP this summer for 2027, now that we have, kind of confirmed these numbers, how do we want to maybe look at reincorporating this project into the CIP?
Okay. Community input? They're gonna leave you alone.
Hi, Andy. So Andy Weiland, 763 Ridgeview Lane. Appreciate the information. This is a great first step. From our point of view, I think we'd love to kind of know what the park board's thinking in order to take kind of that next step. In my other role, I'm always looking for additional funding sources. You have a group of people who are motivated and would love to be able to have these lights. We used to have lights with the old tennis courts, but we had 6 courts there. Now we have 6 courts in a better pickleball configuration. We'd love to be able to utilize it during those times, kind of the shoulder months that will, from April, May, and September, October, when we are getting daylight and losing daylight. That is a time that's very popular because of people after work wanting to use them. And so, if you had a target of a dollar amount that you thought, hey, this would make sense, that if you could hit $15,000 or whatever the number is, that we could pledge toward it, then that gives us kind of some motivation. We're raising money now occasionally, we do a Culver's night or something like that, but we would be probably more motivated if we had a number and we knew that the park board was committed to kind of making this happen. The other thing I will suggest, and been talking to Mike Barone, who you probably know because he's been real involved in this situation, but is in a warmer climate at the moment. He suggested that in the CIP right now, we do have some money set aside for some concrete work. I think it's over $30,000. In our minds as a group, we would say that this lighting project's probably a little bit ahead of that. So, again, if you had a number that you could give to us, that we could start raising some money even yet this winter, as well as consider reauthorizing those dollars for this project, it would mean a lot to us. Any questions? I noticed that this is slated for action / discussion, whatever, so I just wondered if there was any feedback you could give us this evening so we could start working on something. We do trivia nights and that type of thing, and we've raised a little bit of money in the winter when it's cold and there's nothing else to do.
Comments from the park board?
I think it sounds like a great idea. If they're doing the fundraising, it's incredible, and thank you. I think giving a number and getting like an exact cost, it sounds like a great idea, and we should move forward with that.
Do you want to comment, Lynn?
Yeah, I do want to make a comment. I also appreciate, Andy, you coming in, and I hope that the work that we're doing to try and narrow in some of these numbers is sort of a helpful tool. I think that in terms of the park board, this is a tricky thing because I expect, and whether or not this actually happens, I think it's okay to expect that the other portions of this park and that lighting number will start to become topics of discussion because there are other people who are using other parts of the park. And so I'm glad that we're able to divide it up, but I think that when we decide or how we decide what number we want to give for an outside entity to help fundraise, we have to think a little bit about what if somebody else came and said, okay, we want to do the ball fields. Are we going to uphold that same, let's just say, just in a perfect world, we say 50-50, right? Is that what we're going to say for everybody else? Or because I just don't want to open up this door and then all of a sudden our CIP or the villages, we're doing a lot of 50%, things like that. And so I think we just have to be really cautious about the decisions we make because others may be also thinking about this. And I want to be really intentional that we don't change the goal for them and that we don't back ourselves into a corner later.
If I could just react to that a little bit, the pickleball group, and we talked about this the first time we came, we raised up from a percentage basis probably to double, triple, quadruple the amount of money that any other organization raised for their project. I think we were in the 20 to 30% range. We feel like, I guess if you put that out there, whatever the number is, I don't think, from my perspective, you wouldn't be risking much because the other groups haven't raised as much money as we have from a percentage basis.
Lynn, I guess I would respond to that too, saying that if we did give a percentage there, I would invite the other groups to raise that much money, just to kickstart the process more, and then find a way to fund it.
I totally agree. And I also agree with the fact that, yes, in reality, that might not happen. All I'm saying is that in terms of the village budget, if all of a sudden the ball fields are like, okay, we'll 50%, you've got a 50%, we don't have this in our CIP at all. And so this then pulls $400,000 that we have to pull to our CIP. I'm just using the ball fields as the example, right? That could be a really large jump. And so I just want to be careful that we don't set ourselves up in a policy that then we have to abide by, and we don't have that built at all. I totally agree with you both in the sense that it might not ever happen. And if it did, that'd be great. But I also just want to be fiscally careful here.
The other thing I just share is, those baseball fields didn't exist. We had pickleball courts with lights, and now we don't. So in my mind, you could also look at us in a different light that way. No pun intended.
Okay. I don't think we have a number that we can really throw out. I think that's something we'd have to investigate a little bit further. But it's something to consider. I appreciate that.
Would there be a time frame that you could give us or anything? Again, we're trying to get people motivated to raise money. And so having some type of an idea sometime this winter or spring or anything, we just want to move it. We want to take another step.
Mark, is it something where we have to come up with a number, or is it something that staff or the village
Because
board.
it's going to have the financial impact on the staff and the CIP, so I think it's beyond what our scope would end up.
Can I make a quick suggestion? Just in terms of major expenses under parks this year, major capital expenses, Gary Dish Park is that heavy hitter for us, and that is out for bid. So I would probably suggest this board will know a whole lot more in February about how those bids came back and how the overall budget is looking for capital projects in parks at that next meeting.
It does give us a chance to look at something that makes
The-
some sense.
The staff can have a number ready, or what we're saying is that the staff can have a number ready by February? Or,
No, I think what Lauren was saying is that there are other projects, Gary Dish
Yeah.
Park, for example, we'll know if that project is coming in above or below budget. And if there maybe is, if it's below budget, maybe there's some more flexibility in our parks CIP for a project, and I have no idea how long it would take to raise the funds and everything, we have to change the CIP, but, there's maybe an outside chance that this could happen, later in the year in 2026, 2027. Again, we work on that CIP every summer, and so, that'll be here before we know it too. And, but yeah, as far as a number or percentage, we could suggest something, but I think this is purely a policy decision, so we would probably be looking ultimately to you all to determine what you think was appropriate, and then recommend that to the village board to consider, and they could change that too.
Let's get more information as a result of that, and then from there we'll take steps on it.
It's always
Appreciate
good to have
asking.
hope.
Well, and just a couple, additional information is the 30,000 that's in there for the concrete work, like how does that look for being moved or put towards because I think it's also for you guys to have easier access, right?
That's exactly correct. So that we wouldn't want to see that reallocated because it is, it's helpful for pickleball, but it's also helpful for our staff to do maintenance out there. So we'd like to keep that if we could.
Very good.
All right,
Thank you, appreciate it.
thank you very much.
So, moving on to number 7, new business. So we're looking at the review of the possible recommendations to the village board regarding the park facility naming policy. So in the packet was a draft of what policy that the staff had put together. So as we had looked at this in the past, and just saying we should probably develop something and make some sense off of it. And so we had some ideas that were put together in the packet. So unless there's something to present that you want to go through those in any fashion?
Yeah, I think Leanne wanted to walk us through and maybe share some of the, how to put this together.
Sure. So essentially I went for simplicity. None that require a whole separate committee for park naming. Just something that, the park board can do themselves and make recommendations to the village board, and then just a couple guidelines if we ever run into anything kind of murky. So, so if you go down to selection criteria, so these are sort of acceptable names that you can submit. And these are not limited to, but just some general guidelines of, whether geographic location. So, if it's, like Mary Hill Park, one of those, the outstanding feature of the facility, maybe we do name it Big Blue Slide Park, like kids do. A commonly recognized historical event, group, organization, or individual, living or deceased, an adjoining subdivision, street, school, or natural feature, and then to honor a person. So there's 2 ways for that. One can be they made a major donation, and it's our way of saying thank you, or there's somebody that made a huge impact to the community, preferably in the Parks and Rec realm. All right, and then we go to the naming process for, let's say it's an existing unnamed facility. So this is similar to what soccer presented to us. That green space is there, it just doesn't have a name. Right now it's multi-purpose field 2. So essentially what soccer did is basically what is outlined here. So working with village staff, they can reach out and say, we have this great idea to name this particular area after this person. So that could be a written submission, email's perfectly fine as well, but also a lot of, as much as they can provide for why this area should be named after this particular person. So like they did with the newspaper clippings, and, you know, gave a lot of history of what they contributed to this organization. And then at that point, we will notice the fact that, hey, we're thinking about naming this area after this person. We'll give a chance for public comment at most likely a park board meeting. I don't think we would do a separate meeting for that. And then based on public input, park board can make a recommendation to village board. So for new facilities, so let's say, so the park that might be over on North Main Street, what are we gonna name it? So rather than just starting from scratch, well, first we all assign an unofficial name like 240, or North Main Street Park, sorry. And then working with village staff, anybody who wants to reach out and say, look, this, you know, the youth organization or the scouts like really want to, you know, name this park after us, and here's how we can contribute. They can reach out, we could talk about that. Again, written submission, something, as much detail as they can provide, saying, you know, this is why this should be named after us or after this person or this group. And then again, public notice to give a chance for public comment, and then park board can decide and make a recommendation to village board. So this policy, it's there, but it still will allow the naming of the park contest to be held through various means. So like we did with JC Park, where we kind of toyed, the idea of, should we change the name, should we not? So we opened it up to the public and got their opinion. But this states that the renaming of parks and facilities will be strongly discouraged. I think the JC Park thing kind of taught us that everybody just said, why would you change the name? We know where the park is, we know what it is. And that makes perfect sense. It would just cause a lot of confusion. And then also it can be it can diminish the original justification for the name. And then, okay, and then this would stipulate too that parks named for a geographic location should be considered for renaming. So if an organization would like to nominate a person for, like, whether it's like Mary Hill or one of the parks that aren't, you know, Gary Dish Park, but more of like it's on this street.
More generic.
Like a more generic name. But, but if it's, you know, we want to discourage somebody from coming in and saying, I'm way better than Gary Dish. You should name the park after me.
And this is based on, was it Fitchburg mostly?
Mostly Fitchburg with a little bit of Stoughton sprinkled in. Why reinvent the wheel?
Definitely, yes. Comments from the park board? Judy?
You know, when we did the park, I think, isn't there a 25-year naming rights?
Mm-hmm.
So we thought if we did it that way, then in 25 years, if somebody wanted to give another 100,000 to put into something that needs to be repaired, they could have that naming right after 25 years.
And that was just for JC Community Park, since we had that big construction project, but other parks obviously are already built, they're put in by a developer, they were pre-existing, so there's not necessarily a donation requirement.
Well, I'm
for
not saying it would be
naming,
a donation, but I mean,
Right. Mm-hmm.
I mean, because Steve said that to me, he says, I can put my name on it, I'll do it, you know?
Mhm.
And a lot of people think that way sometimes because it helps their business.
Yes, Lynn?
I kind of off of Judy's point, I'm a little nervous about the like subsection of B for renaming where it's like parks and facilities named after individuals should never be changed unless it is found that because of the individual's character. I mean, first of all, I think that's great,
Right,
right?
yeah.
I think it's one of those things where like after a certain period of time, 25 years in my mind feels like a long time.
In history.
Right. Like I think that it's something where then if we need to rename something that I don't know if I'm explaining myself very well. I want to make sure that like there is a time where we can readdress the name of a park after a longer length of time if that's something that is
Okay.
important. I don't do you know
No,
what I'm
that's
saying?
okay. I think so. So my interpretation, this is a terrible example, but let's say 30 years ago we had a Bill Cosby Park.
Mhm.
And then as time went on,
Mhm.
our, all of a sudden we're like, ooh, yeah, let's change that name. So to me, it was more like, ooh, we named it after somebody that we have since found out is problematic and doesn't bode well for our village. And I mean, there is a policy review that like we can review it periodically at anybody's direction, and we can update it as necessary. But I feel like it's hard with the time limit thing because I feel like then after 25 years it's been established, and that's
True.
again like with JC Park, everybody's like, well, it's been JC Park, like why? You know what I mean? Like why
Yeah.
switch it?
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Mhm.
But I think it brings up the opportunity to be like, well, it's been JC Park, or
Right.
now it's
exactly.
time to switch it.
Yes, exactly.
Because I like the idea of just re-looking at it
Mm-hmm.
every 25 years.
Yeah, that's where I was
I hear
headed.
what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, it would make it more relatable to
Mm-hmm.
that generation. I mean, 50 years, someone's going to look at some of these parks and go, I have no idea who that is. I don't really care.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why the park is named that. And I guess that's why I would kind of go along with Lynn, just saying, I wouldn't put that in there saying that it'll, never is a strong word.
And again, the parks need upkeep, so, we gotta.
I mean, if someone comes in with a bunch of money, yeah.
Well, and that was kind of
I
my
mean,
question.
if someone came in and said, hey, I have $2 million to redo Bethel Greenacre and I want to name it X,
Or Gary
mean-
Dish, I think.
I mean, it's going to be hard to say no to the money at
Yeah.
times.
I mean, you could always do, I think, like what DeForest did. Like it's still the DeForest Athletic Complex, but I think it's
Quick
like
Trip
the Quick
Plaza,
Trip
whatever.
presents the
Yeah.
DeForest Athletic Complex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, there could be a way.
Yeah, maybe we could reword B just to say, that names can be changed if there's a problem, but also we could add a clause that,
I wouldn't.
at
say
any
problem.
time or after 25 years of a park naming, and some of these parks, we might have to do a lot of digging to figure out when was it even named, when was it built and what was their, was their original name or whatever too, but there's an opportunity. It's not necessarily this name in perpetuity, but whether there's a problem with the name or enough time has passed that you want to update the name, we could figure out a way to
Well,
word
if the
that.
names change, it might be kind of sweet to add like a memorial or a plaque.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was first named this after this person because of this, and then just the timeline on how like the park has progressed. And but kind of to Judy's point, like if somebody does donate $100,000 to name the park, like when does somebody else get to come in with more money
Right.
and rename the park? And what Andy was saying too, like is there
I'm just always thinking
A
of the
dollar.
upkeep. 'Cause
Right.
It's expensive to, and Lauren knows. So we're trying, if somebody wants to donate,
Because, like, I think C might be a part of, like, if you donated money, because it's individuals and then geographic location, but it doesn't talk about, like, the clubs and the companies or the corporations that, which we haven't had yet, but, I mean, it might happen someday.
So I generally agree with all the comments, and a couple things. I think really will solve a lot of this is a little bit of caveat language, like in the selection criteria, you said, you list it out, but you said it's not everything, or it could change, like
Mm-hmm.
includes but is not limited to, kind of
Exactly.
answers that, right? And then maybe something at the bottom that says, all this is subject to change at any time. you know, or something like that, you know. I think that kind of covers it.
Up to the discretion of the park board.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
But Leah, thank you for putting this together.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
you're
mean, it's a
welcome.
lot-
Helpful.
I mean, there's a lot more information here than where we sat, you know, last month or 2 months ago.
So one of the thoughts I had is, we listed on the objectives on the very beginning part of it, the item A where it provides identification for individual parks, park areas or park facilities. A little bit was talked about, how do we divide it down? You know, you go to a sports facility now, everything is named. There's a basketball, anything, you know, where you put it. And when you end up having a tournament, you have to block off a lot of those as well because of that. So, you know, how far are we gonna go? So I just had noted in here, because even in this particular case, we're not changing the name of the park, we're just naming the field.
Right.
So what happens, you're naming bleachers, what about naming a backstop or something, you know, where does that come into it? So that was all I was gonna potentially add into the objectives, if you were gonna try to do something in regards to that. I'm analytical, when you talk about major donation, is it 2 million, is it 100,000, is it 40,000, what is it? But there is this opportunity that you could take an existing property that has Bethel Acre, you know, and you end up saying, we're gonna renovate all of this. You know, it's great that the land came in place here, but is there this opportunity that you make a major impact on it? What's that definition? So I look at what's a major donation of it, you know, so $2 million may not be a lot of money, but 400,000 could be a lot of money. So how do you break that down? And I don't think you can get really specific about it, but I do think in terms of this naming opportunity, we could open up. I don't think we can put a number on it, but it might have to be major, like substantial or something in regards to that. I kind of look at that aspect of it. I do think there's that opportunity that if there is, we've seen some of that in our country already, that we need to get the name off, you know, and so I think there is something about that. I'm a believer that if it's wrong, we don't have a time frame with it, you know, so that's still going to be subjective because everybody's opinion is going to vary what it is or not, so that's some of it. I didn't follow on page 2 of 3, where it says the naming process of new facilities, down to the naming process on E. It says the park board will act on each request made and will make a recommendation to the village board for action on the request after at least one park board meeting. Does that mean that we have to have enough time that the park board makes a recommendation, we can't go next week into the village board meeting, and so nobody even knows about it take place, or at least. So is that what you're saying, that you have to give some time?
I think as long as we allow time for public comment at park board.
Maybe we just look at that wording a little different.
Yeah,
and follow
I
it.
see what you're saying. And then just act on each request is just more so,
Yep.
if we receive a submission, just the courtesy of, thank you, we talked about it, but.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I think at the last meeting, the items C and then D about the notice, we talked about like if there should be a certain, like is it 30 days, is it 60 days or whatever, we could also maybe say, maybe it's introduced at one park board meeting, the next meeting we'll have opportunity for comment and then have a vote at that second meeting, or maybe it's 2 meetings or whatever. The notice, you know, we can put out some kind of a, you know, public statement, you know, publish it for, you know, whether it's not gonna necessarily be a public hearing, with, you know, neighbor letters, but maybe more of just a press release that, hey, this is being discussed, because usually park board items aren't, you know, if it's not some kind of public hearing, they're not listed as a public notice. But yeah, just thinking about if people, how will they know if they're not paying attention to park board packets that this is even being requested or discussed? So we should think about what the right mechanism is for that.
I like the idea of timelines for accountability for the park board to like move
Right.
with it and to give the transparency to the public. And I think there was 30 or 90 days in
Yeah,
ones
some
we
of the
had
different
read.
examples.
Before.
Because this is for the park board to recommend to the village board. So does the village board have a meeting as well before it's presented to them? 'Cause if it's presented to them and they act upon it, then it doesn't give much chance for others to interact, but are you allowing it to, if it's 2 park board meetings, then it's fine just to go right to the village?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's the
Some
park board
clarification.
item, right, and usually village board is just acting on the recommendations of park board, so I think as
Okay,
long
so
as that
just-
public opportunity happens somewhere, it makes most sense that it would be a park board, and then we would let the village board know it's been this many days, you know, whatever was posted, and we received 2 comments or whatever.
Any other thoughts regard to the naming rights?
I had one more. I'm sorry. There was one, I don't know if it was, there had to be like within, the neighborhood had to sign, to rename the park.
Oh, yes.
There had to been the neighborhood and, sorry, where is
Let's not get into that.
Where's
that?
I know what you're talking
It's
about.
the top of page 3.
Top of
Renaming will follow the same procedures as naming the park, but
There we
also
go.
must be accompanied by a majority agreement by residents within a certain radius of the park or facility.
Yeah, I mean, I get the radius, but couldn't like just open to the whole community.
Well, the park board approves it, and then we send it to the board. So do we really want to get the other people involved? Because they can be here at the open session.
Yeah. Are you just saying don't limit it just to people that are within a radius of the park, but to say,
Yeah, but you're saying that's
The
not
village.
even necessary if we have
Yeah, well,
the open,
well, she's sending out the notices, so.
the open comment period.
yeah,
So I guess, are you asking, is that paragraph or those sentences, is that required? Do you need that in here?
I guess I'm asking that now.
Right. I
Before,
mean,
I was
why-
asking for
no, yeah.
expansion.
Yeah.
Right. No, I know, but like, if there's gonna be if there's gonna be so much time between meetings or on different agendas and stuff, so there's time for public to have comment, I guess, what do you need the majority agreement by residents within a certain radius? Like,
maybe strike. Yeah, I would maybe recommend striking that just to, yeah, again, there's the public comment period. I also know that this is gonna be, that would be really complicated to track, cause you'd have to probably send letters and then have some kind of like ballot situation, you know, voting and, you know, oh,
Is
well,
it-
we only heard from
right.
10%, you
Yeah.
know,
Is
so.
it the majority of people who responded or majority of
Yeah.
people, period? I mean, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
When you have any board or anything, you know, so I think that would just, like you said, strike that whole thing. My last comment is if we don't name stuff after people, then we don't have to worry about renaming them later. But that's just my personal policy, so.
The street name might change or something.
Okay.
I still might
Problem
wanna
is all-
look at it.
All the streets are named after people too.
Right.
You can't get
Or
away from
trees,
this.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we need to name a park after Andy just
No.
to get him to settle
Yeah.
down.
When you,
I will fight that till I die.
it'll be a memorial park.
Yeah.
Like, 80 years.
I'll-
It's like 80 years,
I
yeah.
will set up a fund to pay to not have it. Anyway, thank you for your work on this.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there particular action? You got some feedback on it?
No, I'll come back next month with some changes based on input, and we'll go from there.
Okay, that makes sense. Moving on to other new business, 7B, upcoming meeting dates. In the packet was all of the forecasted meeting dates for the year. So great to have that in your calendar and be aware of that overall, so appreciate that. Keep a track of that, and so if something does come up, and we run into certainly holidays and other things that come into it, and certainly elections and other things that may pop into it, but we'll end up looking at those as we come about those, as we approach those dates in particular. So no other items from my staff, my perspective anyways, for future meetings, but we do have, we'll just look at the reservation policy and look at that itself. Any assignments that you guys may end up desire to have for? None? I'm going to go around the horn and just offer any announcements or any kind of comments. We just want to make sure that it's just something generic and not necessarily specific about anything regarding what we've discussed. So we just want to be clear about what that is. But Judy, do you have anything that,
Nothing, it's just the new year, we're ready to go, so,
yes,
you know, and I think we're gonna be doing a lot of work on the parks, so.
very true. Nico?
This is a while in advance, but I think I have to miss the meeting on July 4th and August 18th because I am going to the same summer camp as last year.
Oh, cool, awesome.
Oh, there is a
I understand
July.
that. That makes sense. Thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, 14th.
Lynn?
Nope.
Nothing for you? Matt?
Nope, good.
Andy?
No.
Nothing? Jamie? Nothing for me in particular, but just like I said last time, just keep aware of what your parks are and get to know your parks and visit and stop around in them because there's lots of great activities winter and summer for those overall.
On that note, I do have just a quick announcement. Wellness Coalition will not be doing their annual Winterfest this year. We're just gonna put a pin in it and maybe try something new. So they are having, it's called the Oregon Games, kind of piggybacking off the Olympics, at RCI Saturday, February 28th. And it'll just be different organizations there, and you can come and do some fun minute to win it type games. And yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Wonderful.
So it's gonna be where?
Sorry, RCI.
That's awesome. As I met somebody once at actually Bethel, they were really impressed with the snowflake process because it just got them out to see parks that they hadn't seen before. So they really appreciated just tromping through the snow and kids were going down the slide and saying, this is a lot of fun. So anything you can do that all year round makes a difference. So I'll call for an adjournment.
I'll move.
Andy, second?
I'll second.
Lynn seconds. Do we have any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So moved. Thank you all.
Thank you.
you.